The quantum sensors aboard the Prometheus hummed their usual melody, a sound Dr. Sarah Chen had grown accustomed to over the past 3 years of deep space exploration. She stretched in her chair, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display that painted the research vessel's observation deck in a soft blue glow. Another routine sweep of the boot's void, a billion-light-year expanse of seemingly empty space that had puzzled astronomers for generations. Coffee, Dr. Chen. The ship's AI, Araya, projected a small avatar beside her workstation. Not yet, Araya. Something's odd about these readings. Sarah leaned forward, her brow furrowed as she studied the quantum variance patterns. After thousands of identical scans, she developed an instinct for the void's background noise. This was different. The signal pulsed at regular intervals, but each pulse seemed to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. It was like watching a wave function that refused to collapse, even under observation. That was impossible. The mere act of measuring quantum phenomena should force them into a definite state. Araya, run a level 3 diagnostic on the sensor array. Diagnostic initiated. Estimated completion time, 4 minutes. Sarah's fingers flew across the haptic interface, pulling up historical data from their previous scans. Nothing like this had ever appeared before. The signal's structure defied everything she knew about quantum mechanics. It somehow maintained coherence across vast distances, something that should shatter any quantum state. Dr. Chen. Araya's avatar flickered. Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning within normal parameters. Sarah felt her heart rate quicken. Run it again. Level 5 this time. The observation deck's door hissed open, and Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez stepped through, his dark hair disheveled from another late-night maintenance session. You're up early, Sarah. Or late. He paused, noting her intense focus. Everything okay? Marcus, look at this. Sarah gestured to the display, expanding the signal pattern. What do you make of these oscillations? He moved closer, his expression shifting from curiosity to confusion. That's not possible. The quantum coherence should have broken down over these distances. He tapped a few commands into the console. Unless. Unless what? Unless someone's artificially maintaining it. But the energy requirements would be. He shook his head. Astronomical doesn't begin to cover it. Araya's avatar reappeared. Second diagnostic complete. All systems nominal. However, I've detected an anomaly in the signal pattern. It appears to be evolving. Sarah and Marcus watched as the quantum signatures began to shift, forming complex patterns that resembled mathematics more than natural phenomena. The signal wasn't random noise. It had structure, purpose. Wake the captain, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. And get Dr. Padel from Xenolinguistics up here. I think someone's trying to communicate. Within minutes, the observation deck filled with senior staff. Captain Laura Hayes stood at the center, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. Options, people. It's definitely artificial, Marcus said. The signal's maintaining quantum coherence across at least several light years. That's beyond anything humanity can do. And the patterns. Hayes turned to Dr. Patel, who was already running the signal through various translation matrices. Complex. Mathematical, but with variations I'd never seen before. It's like someone speaking quantum mechanics as a language. Sarah stood, her heart pounding. Captain, we need to investigate. Whatever this is, it's not just breaking the laws of physics, it's rewriting them. Hayes studied the display for a long moment. Plot a course. But full defensive protocols. If something out there can manipulate quantum mechanics at this scale. She left the thought unfinished. As the crew scrambled to their stations, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that everything humanity thought they knew about the universe was about to change. The boot's void wasn't empty after all. It was calling to them. The Prometheus's faster-than-light drive pulsed with an unsettling arrhythmia as they penetrated deeper into the boot's void. Marcus Rodriguez pressed his palm against the engine room's wall, feeling the vibrations grow more erratic with each passing hour. After 15 years of service, he'd never felt his ship behave this way. Core temperature rising again, his assistant Wei called from the monitoring station. "We're seeing micro-fluctuations in the quantum field generator." Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead, leaving a streak of engine grease across his brow. "Increase coolant flow to Section 4. Let's try to stabilize the field manually." The ship shuddered, and warning lights flickered across every console. Above them, Aria's voice carried an edge of concern. "Warning. FTL field integrity dropping below 60%. Recommend immediate return to normal space." "Not yet," Marcus muttered, pulling up the drive's quantum signature on his tablet. The numbers made his blood run cold. The void wasn't just empty space. It was actively resisting their presence, like antibodies attacking an infection. His comm crackled. "Engineering, this is the bridge. Status report. Captain, something's wrong with the underlying structure of space out here." Marcus watched as another set of readouts turned red. "It's like someone's rewritten the quantum foam. Our drive can't maintain a stable field." "Can we proceed?" Marcus studied the data streaming across his screen. The normal ripples of space-time they used for FTL travel were being smoothed out, as if something was deliberately erasing them. Not without completely reconfiguring the drive. And I mean completely. We'd have to rebuild it from the ground up. There was a long pause from the bridge. "How long?" 8 hours, minimum. And that's if my crazy theory about what's happening out here is correct. "You have 6. Whatever's generating that signal, it's getting stronger. Dr. Chen thinks we're being tested." Marcus closed his eyes, running calculations in his head. They'd have to modify the quantum field generator while it was still running, like performing surgery on a patient's heart while they were running a marathon. One mistake, and they'd be stranded 15,000 light years from home. "Wei, get every engineer awake, and in here. Araya, I need you to run quantum simulations of every modification we make before we implement it. We're going to try something that's either brilliant or suicidal." The next 5 hours passed in a blur of calculations, modifications, and near disasters. They rebuilt the drive's field geometry, changing it from standard pulse waves to something that looked more like the signal they were chasing, a quantum state that existed in multiple configurations simultaneously. Marcus's hands shook as he made the final adjustments. The entire ship had been running on emergency power for the last hour, every spare bit of energy diverted to maintaining their position in space. "Field generator online," Wei announced. "New configuration stable. I think." Marcus opened a channel to the bridge. "Captain, we're ready. But I need to warn you, we're not just traveling through space anymore. If I'm right, we're going to be surfing between quantum states. Nobody's ever attempted anything like this." "Understood. Proceed." Marcus took a deep breath and initiated the drive sequence. The Prometheus shuddered, then went eerily still. Through the engine room's viewport, space itself seemed to blur, colors that hadn't existed seconds ago bleeding into reality. "It's working," Wei whispered. "The field is holding. We're actually—" The ship lurched violently, cutting him off. But this wasn't a malfunction. Through the quantum field sensors, Marcus watched in awe as the void's true nature revealed itself. The emptiness wasn't random. It was artificial, sculpted with impossible precision. "Bridge, are you seeing this?" His voice was barely a whisper. "It's not a void. It's a wall. Someone cleared out this entire section of space, like they were building a moat around something they didn't want anyone to find." As if in response to his realization, the signal pulsed stronger, pulling them deeper into the mystery that lay ahead. The Prometheus emerged from quantum space into what Dr. Sarah Chen's instruments insisted was an impossibility. Before them hung a structure that seemed to fold in on itself, existing at every point in space, while simultaneously having no dimension at all. The observation deck's windows struggled to render it, showing only a shimmering distortion that hurt the eyes to look at directly. "Ara, are you recording this?" Sarah's voice trembled. "Affirmative, Doctor. Though I must note that my sensors are detecting significant dimensional anomalies. The structure appears to exist in 11 dimensions simultaneously." Captain Hayes stood beside Sarah, her usual stoic demeanor cracking slightly. "Can we communicate with it?" Before Sarah could respond, the ship's systems flickered. The holographic displays twisted into impossible shapes, showing mathematical equations that wrote and rewrote themselves in real time. In the center of the observation deck, space itself began to ripple. Multiple quantum field fluctuations detected, Araya announced. Unknown entities are attempting to manifest within the ship. Security teams rushed in, weapons drawn, but Sarah held up her hand. "Wait, look at the equations. They're not random. They're trying to find a way to exist in our three-dimensional space." The ripples coalesced into shifting forms that seemed to flow between states of matter, like water changing to steam and back again. Where faces should be, there were only mathematical probabilities given form. The security team's weapons passed straight through them. "We are the archivists." The entities spoke, their voices resonating directly in the crew's minds. "You have achieved the improbable. You are early." Sarah stepped forward. "Early for what?" "Your species was not projected to discover quantum manipulation for another 10,000 years. Your presence here violates all known probability matrices." The entities moved closer, studying the humans with what seemed like curiosity. "You exist in a state of quantum uncertainty even now. How is this possible?" Dr. Patel from Xenolinguistics joined Sarah. "We don't understand. What do you mean we're in quantum uncertainty?" The entities shifted, their forms becoming more complex. "Your consciousness. It operates in superposition, multiple decision pathways existing simultaneously. Other species think linearly, progress predictably. But you collapse quantum states through pure observation, yet maintain internal quantum coherence. A paradox." Captain Hayes moved to stand beside her scientists. "Are you saying that human consciousness itself is quantum in nature?" "Yes. No. Both. Neither." The entities seemed to struggle with the concept. "You should not be capable of this. Your biology is primitive. Your technology is crude. Yet you found us by accident. Intention. The probability matrices cannot compute your path here." Sarah's scientific mind raced with implications. "The structure behind you. What is it?" "The archive. All knowledge, all history, all possible futures." The entity's forms flickered. "But you have introduced an impossible variable. Your quantum consciousness creates paths that should not exist. You are both primitive and transcendent, a species that should not be." Through the windows, the structure seemed to pulse, its impossible geometry responding to the entity's agitation. Mathematical symbols flowed through the air like cosmic wind, each equation more complex than the last. "We must understand," the entities declared. "You will be studied. Your quantum nature documented." Captain Hayes straightened. "We're not specimens for examination. We're explorers, seeking knowledge and understanding." The entities paused, their forms freezing in mid-fluctuation. "You deny our authority." Another impossibility. All species, when confronted with superior beings, submit to examination. "Not humans," Sarah said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "We question. We challenge. It's part of our quantum nature, isn't it? The inability to simply accept what we're told." The entities began to move in new patterns, their mathematical forms growing more chaotic. Perhaps this is why you arrived early. Your species does not follow predetermined paths. You create new ones through sheer irrationality." The structure behind them pulsed again, stronger this time. The entities turned their attention to it briefly before facing the humans again. "The archive calls. You will come. We must understand how you break all known laws of development." The future itself depends on this understanding. As the Prometheus's crew prepared to board the impossible structure, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's greatest weakness, their unpredictable nature, might just be their greatest strength in the cosmos. Inside the archive, reality bent around the human visitors. The walls, if they could be called that, rippled with living mathematics, each equation a window into another civilization's history. Dr. Sarah Chen felt her mind stretching to comprehend the impossible space, while beside her, Dr. Patel recorded everything with trembling hands. The archive contains all knowledge. The quantum entities explained, their forms flowing through multiple dimensions, every species that achieved spaceflight, every civilization that mastered quantum mechanics, every technological path taken. And you've been watching all of them? Captain Hayes asked, her voice steady despite the gravitational fluctuations around them. We are the culmination of purpose. We observe. We record. We ensure the proper progression of cosmic civilization. The entities led them deeper into the structure. Until now. A section of the archive shimmered and expanded, revealing what looked like a timeline of human development. But something was wrong. The predicted paths showed humanity discovering quantum manipulation thousands of years in the future, yet here they stood. Your presence creates a paradox. The entities continued. All species follow predictable paths. Technological development occurs in precise sequences. But humans, the mathematical patterns around them became chaotic. You developed quantum theory before mastering fusion. You achieved faster than light travel through mathematical intuition, rather than logical progression. Sarah stepped closer to the timeline. Are you saying we're developing too fast? Not faster. Different. Wrong. Right. Impossible. The entity's forms flickered with agitation. Observe. The archive shifted again, showing countless alien civilizations. Each followed nearly identical paths. Mathematical discovery, technological advancement, social evolution, all in perfect, predictable order. Each species' consciousness develops linearly, the entities explained. Decisions follow logical paths. Progress is inevitable but controlled. But humans, they gestured, and a new display appeared. Human consciousness appeared as a chaotic web of quantum possibilities, decisions branching and recombining in patterns that defied prediction. Your minds exist in quantum superposition. Each decision creates multiple reality branches. You unconsciously navigate possibilities that other species cannot perceive. It is beautiful, terrifying, wrong. Dr. Patel's translator struggled to keep up with the increasingly complex concepts. But why does this matter? Why is our development so important? The entity's forms became more ordered, more serious. The archive exists to preserve universal order. All species must develop according to natural law. But humans, they paused, their mathematical patterns shifting. You bypass natural law through quantum consciousness. You achieve the impossible through illogical leaps. You threaten the very fabric of cosmic development. Captain Hayes stepped forward. Are you saying we're a danger to the universe? Yes. No. Both. The entities surrounded them. Your quantum nature allows you to see paths hidden from other species. You solve problems by imagining impossible solutions. Each human mind contains infinite potential futures, collapsing into reality through sheer will. Sarah's scientific mind raced with implications. The quantum signals we detected. You wanted us to find this place, didn't you? We expected discovery in 10,000 years, but you followed quantum traces that should have been invisible to your technology. Your consciousness resonated with the archive itself. You came too soon, yet exactly when you were needed. The walls of the archive pulsed with new equations, each more complex than the last. The entity's forms became more agitated, more urgent. The universe stands at a crossroads. Order versus chaos, prediction versus possibility. Your species represents an evolutionary path we never considered possible. The question now becomes, what must be done about humanity? The air grew heavy with possibility. Captain Hayes exchanged glances with her crew, understanding the weight of the moment. They weren't just explorers anymore. They were representatives of humanity's unique place in the cosmos. "Show us," Sarah said finally. "Show us everything. If we're going to understand our role in the universe, we need to see what we're really part of." The entities paused. Then the archive exploded into motion around them, unveiling secrets that would forever change humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmic order. The deeper they delved into the archive, the more Sarah Chen understood why humanity terrified the entities. The walls around them projected countless simulations of human decision-making, each one defying the logical progression that other species followed. "Watch," the entities commanded, manifesting the simple scenario across multiple species. A common technological obstacle, achieving stable fusion reaction. The simulation showed various alien civilizations approaching the problem methodically, each following nearly identical paths of trial and error over centuries. Then it showed humans. "Your species," the entities continued, "approached the problem through quantum intuition. Your scientists dreamed solutions that violated known physics, and somehow, impossibly, they worked. Because we imagine the impossible," Sarah whispered, watching humanity's chaotic path through scientific discovery. More than imagination. The entity's forms twisted with what might have been excitement or fear. "Your consciousness exists in quantum superposition. When humans face a problem, you simultaneously consider all solutions, even ones that should not exist." Captain Hayes studied the simulations with growing understanding. "That's why we develop differently than other species. We're not bound by pure logic." "Precisely." The archive's walls rippled, showing new patterns. Other species see one path forward. Humans see infinite possibilities and choose the ones that should not work, yet do. Your greatest scientists did not discover truths. They imagined them into existence. Dr. Paddle stepped closer to one simulation. "Is that why we found you early? Because we imagined possibilities you hadn't considered." The entity's mathematical patterns grew more complex. "Your ship's engineer modified your quantum drive through intuition rather than calculation." He felt the solution. No other species has ever exhibited such capability. It should be impossible. Sarah watched the simulations of human consciousness at work. Each decision point exploded into countless quantum states, possibilities branching and recombining in ways that defy prediction. Our apparent irrationality is actually quantum processing. Yes, your consciousness collapses quantum states through observation, yet maintains internal quantum coherence. You exist in multiple states simultaneously, choosing paths that should not exist. It is beautiful, dangerous, revolutionary. The archive shifted again, showing the development of countless civilizations. Each followed precise, predictable paths, except humanity. Their timeline twisted and turned, leaping ahead in some areas while lagging in others, following a pattern that looked almost organic. "Look," Sarah pointed to a particular junction in human development. "When we first split the atom, the simulations show we should have destroyed ourselves. Every probability pointed to nuclear annihilation. Yet humanity survived." The entities confirmed. "You imagined alternatives that no simulation predicted. Your quantum consciousness allowed you to see past the inevitable to the impossible." Captain Hayes straightened, her expression hardening. "And this frightens you. It frightens the universe itself." The entity's forms became more ordered, more serious. "Your species introduces chaos into a system built on order. Your very existence threatens the natural progression of cosmic civilization." "Or perhaps," Sarah challenged, her mind racing with implications, "we're not a threat to natural progression. Maybe we're the next step in universal evolution." The archive pulsed with new equations, as if considering this possibility. The entities moved closer, their forms shifting between states more rapidly. "Consider consciousness that can navigate quantum states naturally, a species that can imagine new realities into existence." the ability to see beyond the predetermined path. Sarah's voice grew stronger with each point. What if humanity isn't a flaw in the system? What if we're an upgrade? The silence that followed felt heavy with possibility. The entity's mathematical patterns grew increasingly complex, processing this revolutionary concept. If true, they finally responded, the implications would reshape our understanding of universal development. But such power, such potential, requires. They paused, their forms solidifying briefly. A choice must be made. As the weight of their words settled over the human crew, Sarah realized they stood at a crossroads not just for humanity, but for the very nature of consciousness in the universe. Their quantum nature, their greatest perceived flaw, might just be the key to the cosmos' next great leap forward. The archive's walls pulsed with increasingly erratic patterns as the entities gathered around the human crew. Their mathematical forms had grown more rigid, more crystalline, as if the weight of their coming pronouncement had forced them into a more ordered state. "We have reached consensus," they announced, their collective voice resonating through both mind and matter. Humanity's quantum consciousness presents an unprecedented threat to universal order. A choice must be made. Captain Hayes moved protectively in front of her crew. What kind of choice? The space around them transformed, splitting into two distinct regions. In one, they saw a version of humanity evolve to its predicted state, orderly, logical, perfectly aligned with universal law. In the other, they witnessed their current path, chaotic, brilliant, unpredictable. Option 1. Submit to correction. Your species will be adjusted, quantum consciousness suppressed. You will join the natural progression of cosmic civilization. The entities gestured to the first vision. Your technology will advance predictably. Your decisions will follow logical paths. Order will be maintained. Sarah watched the simulation with growing horror. The humanity shown there had lost something essential. The spark of imagination. The ability to dream the impossible. And option 2. Dr. Patil asked, though his voice suggested he already feared the answer. Containment. The entity's forms hardened further. The void becomes your prison. Humanity will be sealed away, free to maintain your quantum nature, but forever isolated from the greater universe. The cosmic order must be preserved. Marcus Rodriguez, who had been quietly observing until now, stepped forward. So either we lobotomize our entire species, or we accept eternal imprisonment. Those are our only options. Your existence introduces uncertainty into a system based on certainty. Your decisions create ripples in reality that threaten the very fabric of space-time. The entities surrounded them more closely. Even now, your minds generate quantum possibilities that should not exist. We can feel them. Sarah studied the two options presented, her quantum consciousness already racing ahead to imagine alternatives. "Show us the probability matrices," she demanded. "Show us exactly how humanity's quantum nature affects the universe." The archive responded, filling the space with complex mathematical patterns. Sarah and Marcus studied them intently, their minds working in that uniquely human way. Part logic, part intuition, part impossible leap. There, Sarah pointed to a particular equation. The containment option. It's not actually possible, is it? Our quantum consciousness would eventually break through any barrier. And the suppression, Marcus added, seeing the pattern, it wouldn't stick. Our quantum nature isn't just consciousness. It's written into our very existence. You'd have to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics to change us. The entity's forms flickered with what might have been surprise. You understand more than you should. Yes. Both options are temporary solutions at best, but they are the only solutions that exist within logical possibility. Captain Hayes laughed, the sound echoing strangely in the mathematical space. Only solutions within logical possibility. But that's exactly what we're not bound by, isn't it? The entities moved closer, their patterns showing increasing complexity. Explain. You're thinking in binary terms. Contain us or change us. Order or chaos. Hayes gestured to her crew. But humans specialize in finding the third option, the impossible path, the solution that shouldn't work but does. The archive's walls began to pulse more rapidly, as if responding to the quantum possibilities suddenly blooming in the humans' minds. The entity's forms became less rigid, showing signs of uncertainty. There is no third option, they insisted, but their mathematical patterns suggested otherwise. The choice must be made. Order must be preserved. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes bright with realization. No, the real choice isn't about humanity at all, is it? It's about the nature of the universe itself, and maybe it's time for the universe to evolve. The entity's forms scattered momentarily before reforming, their patterns showing clear agitation. Around them, the archive itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the impossible moment when order and chaos would finally collide. The archive trembled as Sarah Chen stepped into its center, her mind racing with quantum possibilities. The entities watched, their mathematical forms shifting between states of anticipation and alarm. "Look at your own records," she said, gesturing to the walls of living equations around them. "Every major leap in universal understanding has come from embracing uncertainty, not fighting it." The archive responded to her words, displaying breakthrough moments from countless civilizations. Each one, when examined closely, contained a spark of quantum uncertainty, a moment when pure logic gave way to something more. "Dr. Chen," the entities warned, "your proposal threatens the fundamental nature of reality." "No," Marcus interrupted, moving to stand beside her. "It completes it." He pointed to the ship's engine modifications displayed in the archive. "We didn't break your laws of physics. We expanded them, found the spaces between the absolutes." Captain Hayes stepped forward. "Every civilization in your records hit the same walls, followed the same paths. But the universe isn't static. It needs to grow, to evolve. Maybe that's why humanity developed quantum consciousness. We're not a flaw in the system. We're an upgrade to it." The entity's patterns became increasingly chaotic. Impossible. Growth must follow established patterns. Must it? Dr. Patel joined them, his translator picking up mathematical concepts that shouldn't have been comprehensible to human minds. "Your own archive shows the universe expanding, changing, evolving. Why should consciousness be any different?" Sarah reached out, her hand passing through the mathematical representations of reality itself. "We propose a third option. Instead of containing humanity or suppressing our quantum nature, let us teach you how to expand your own consciousness." The archive pulsed with unprecedented patterns as the entities processed this suggestion. "Teach us." "Yes," Sarah's voice grew stronger. "You've spent eons observing, recording, maintaining order. But observation without growth leads to stagnation. Humanity's quantum consciousness isn't just about making impossible decisions. It's about imagining new ways for reality itself to evolve." The mathematical patterns around them began to shift, responding to the quantum possibilities blooming in the humans' minds. The entities drew closer, their forms showing signs of something new. Curiosity. "Look," Marcus said, pointing to the engine modifications he'd made. "We didn't just adapt to the void's strange physics. We learned to surf between quantum states, to exist in multiple possibilities at once. Your archive proves other species have the potential. They just never imagined it was possible." Captain Hayes addressed the entities directly. "You fear our chaos. Then let us show you how to harness it. Imagine an archive that doesn't just record history, but helps shape its evolution. A universe where consciousness can grow beyond the predetermined paths." The entity's forms began to oscillate in new patterns, their mathematical representations showing signs of quantum uncertainty. This has never been attempted. "The risks are necessary for growth," Sarah completed. "Every scientist knows that breakthrough moments come not from following established patterns, but from daring to challenge them." The archive itself seemed to respond, its walls shifting with new equations that combined order and chaos in ways never before seen. The entity's forms started to show traces of quantum superposition, their rigid patterns gaining hints of human-like uncertainty. "We offer a new path," Sarah continued, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's potential. "Not chaos or order, but evolution. Let us show you how to embrace quantum consciousness, how to imagine impossible futures into reality." The entities gathered, their forms merging and separating in complex patterns as they communicated in mathematics beyond human comprehension. The archive pulsed around them, displaying countless possible futures, each more extraordinary than the last. Finally, the entities reformed, their patterns showing a new complexity that bridged the gap between mathematical certainty and quantum possibility. "Your proposal is impossible," they said, but their forms flickered with something that looked almost like hope. "Perhaps that is exactly why it will work." As the archive began to transform around them, Sarah realized they'd done what humanity did best. They'd imagined an impossible future, and through that very imagination, made it real. 6 months after humanity's encounter with the archive, the Boots void had transformed. Where once emptiness stretched across 1 billion light-years, now a shimmering network of quantum pathways connected civilizations that had never known each other existed. The Prometheus, recently returned from its historic mission, hovered at the void's edge as Dr. Sarah Chin prepared to address the United Earth Council. The transformation began slowly at first. She explained to the assembled leaders, her holographic presentation showing the archive's evolution. As the entities learned to embrace quantum consciousness, they discovered what humanity had known instinctively, that reality itself is more flexible than anyone imagined. The display showed the archive's new structure, no longer a rigid repository of knowledge, but a living network of quantum possibilities. Species that had once developed in isolation now shared insights across dimensional barriers, each contributing their unique perspectives to the cosmic consciousness. "The entities themselves have evolved," Marcus added, stepping forward. "They've learned to exist in quantum superposition, to imagine new possibilities while maintaining their role as custodians of knowledge. They're becoming something entirely new, part archivists, part explorers." Captain Hayes smiled as she watched her crew present their findings. The past 6 months had seen humanity's influence spread through the cosmos not as a disrupting force, but as a catalyst for evolution. Other species, guided by the transformed archive, were beginning to discover their own quantum potential. "The most remarkable change," Dr. Patil continued, "has been in interspecies communication. As civilizations learn to access quantum consciousness, we're developing ways to share thoughts and experiences across dimensional barriers. The universe is waking up to its own potential." The archive itself had become a hub of innovation, where ordered logic and quantum possibility merged to create new forms of understanding. The entities, once rigid in their dedication to cosmic order, now helped guide species toward their own unique evolutionary paths. "But what about the risks?" one council member asked. "Surely this level of change threatens universal stability." Sarah stepped forward again. "What we've discovered is that the universe isn't meant to be stable. It's meant to grow. Humanity's quantum consciousness wasn't a flaw in the system. It was the universe's way of pushing its own boundaries." The presentation showed new data, species after species discovering their quantum potential, each in their own unique way. Some through technology, others through biological evolution, but all inspired by humanity's example of imagining the impossible into reality. "The void is no longer empty," Marcus explained, pulling up engine diagnostics. "It's become a quantum crucible where consciousness itself evolves. Our modified engines are now the standard design for ships entering the region. You have to be able to surf quantum states to navigate the new reality we've helped create." The entities themselves had sent a message to Earth, displayed now in shimmering quantum mathematics that somehow conveyed both precision and possibility. "Humanity showed us that the universe's greatest strength lies not in maintaining order, but in embracing evolution. You taught us to dream." Captain Hayes took the podium for the final remarks. We went looking for answers in the void, and found something greater. The next step in cosmic evolution. Humanity's greatest perceived weakness, our unpredictable, quantum nature, turned out to be the key to unlocking the universe's true potential. As the presentation concluded, Sarah looked out at the transformed void through the station's windows. The quantum pathways shimmered like neural networks across space, connecting civilizations in ways that would have been impossible just months ago. The archive was no longer just a repository of what had been, but a living laboratory for what could be. Ready to head back out? Captain Hayes asked, joining her at the window. Sarah nodded, watching a ship from a distant civilization navigate the quantum currents they'd helped create. There's still so much to discover, so many impossible things to imagine into reality. The universe, once bound by rigid laws and predictable patterns, had learned humanity's greatest lesson. The future belongs not to those who follow the paths laid before them, but to those who dare to dream new ones into existence.